So one of the movies why I watched when I was on vacation was Challenges. I thought this movie was fantastic. Let me start with the positives. I think the whole cast is greatness. Zaya is obviously a standout. I think the other two actors do a really good job in this, and she's a great actress. Like I've loved her in everything I've seen her in, and I just found the characters really interesting and compelling. And I love the relationship between all three characters, but you really buy them as friends, but you also buy the chemistry when it comes to a romantic element of between all three characters. And I also love how this story was kind of told in this movie. It's told in a way where it's not like linear when it comes to how the narrative is told with the story in this. And I actually really liked about that. I mean, one of the things I did love about this movie also was just it had a lot of style to it. The way the story was told. I really love how the tennis scenes were shot. Where I'm not somebody who's like a big tennis person. I don't really watch the sport. It's not a sport that I find exciting to watch. But the way they did the tennis scenes in this movie with the masses, I love how it was like close up shots of the ball going back and forth at times. So it made you feel like you were in the mass when it came to the tennis masses in this. So I loved how that was shot. Like I said, it has a lot of style to it, and it just I don't know. It has a really great energy to it. The pacing really worked for me personally, and the characters are just really compelling and interesting. Now, I can totally understand one of the negatives being with this movie for people is that I can totally understand the characters being too unlikable for some people. And 99% of the time that usually bothers me in movies. But it didn't bother me in this one. Like I just found the characters so interesting and compelling. I liked how they were comparing the relationship between to tennis. I thought that was just like I said, it was just interesting. Like the characters were just very compelling, and even though they aren't like the most likable characters, I just found the movie has so much style and the story's so interesting and the characters so interesting that it really didn't bother me that the characters were very toxic. And Zaya does a great job of just playing a character that you're like, yeah, this is a very toxic character, and you can understand why the two guys like her. And it even kind of hints that maybe maybe there's something with the two guys in the earlier scene in the movie where the kissing her on the back, like on the side of her head, both of them, and you see them kissing. You can maybe see maybe there's a little something there too. But I thought this movie just did a great job with its characters. Now, I can also understand the ending for some people. I love the ending. I actually do like the fact that it ends in a way where you don't know who won the mask and who she decides to end up with. I can totally understand that bothering some people, the ending of this movie. But I don't know. I actually really like that. Again, that's usually something. That's one of those things I usually have an issue with movies too. When when you leave it kind of on an open ending. But it actually didn't bother me in this movie. Now, the one negative I have with this movie is the music, and I think the music definitely has a style to it. Like I said, this movie has a lot of style to it. The way it's like the story's told, the way it's paced, and I can definitely understand like what they were going for with the music, where it really does stick out in this movie. But it's kind of one negative I have with this movie is that the music sometimes felt out of place in this movie for me personally. It felt like too much. Like I can see some people saying this movie has too much style, and I can see that being that did bother me with the music. Where it does feel like at times with the music in this movie, I was like, okay, this is a bit too much with the music. And that's really the only negative I had with this movie. Like like the two things I can understand is that I can understand some people not liking this because the characters are just too toxic. Which they are toxic characters. When it comes to like if you're somebody who watches a movie and it really bothers you when you have characters that are like extremely unlikable, I can totally understand this being an issue for some people with this movie. Same with the ending. I can see some people loving the ending of this movie because they leave that ambiguous when it comes to who she ends up with or who wins the tennis match between the two friends at the end. So I can see those two things bothering some people. For me, it didn't bother me personally. And overall, I think this is just a great movie. I definitely recommend Challenges. And this movie, like I said, I would definitely recommend checking out. So that's my review on Challenges. Until next time, movie fans.